everyone, it's your girl Julia here. So I saw this one little video where this one famous YouTube creator, I believe the name was Review of the Week, was going over some rather interesting comments he had in his videos. Now, I'm not really a big YouTuber, so I don't really have a lot of weird responses or questions every so often. So I figured just for fun, I'd react to some transgender memes. So where did I get these? There's a small subreddit called r trans. Or maybe it's just called trans. I don't know if you're supposed to pronounce all those A's or not. But anyway, I figured I would just kind of go through a few and just see what my reactions are. I sorted these by greatest of all time, so I'm hoping there aren't a whole lot of transphobic things out there, because that seems to be a very popular thing. I've been on this subreddit a few times and even done a few posts, with this one probably being my biggest one. Still pretty proud of it. I love how there was even a little debate about how Uncle Ira would be the greatest ally with this sort of thing. Funny story about this one. So I actually heard this one from a friend of mine. He's been a really good ally and a really good friend. And if you're watching this, I want to thank you for being as supportive as you have. He sent me this story, and both him and I were just like, okay, who is this? I mean, more power to them, but I was just kind of like, should I know who this guy is? And plus I can't help thinking I've heard of an other Elliot Page before. Or maybe I'm getting him mixed up with Elliot Carver. Or maybe Elliot from Pete's Dragon. I don't know, but I can't help thinking I've heard of an Elliot Page from somewhere else. Unless somehow I went into the future. Yeah, well, more power to you. Okay, this one I'll have to read out loud. Yes. The occasional, why did you put gender fluidity in your book? Your agenda is ruining the story comment. Perhaps what is ruining the story for that reader is their instance on believing that a non-cishest, I've never heard of that term before, character's right to exist and a story is an agenda. And of course, if the reader is wondering why I put gender fluidity in a Norse mythology story, that reader doesn't really know much about Norse mythology. Well, I can honestly say right now I know next to nothing about Norse mythology. All I know is there's Thor, who's the son of Odin, and his brother's name is Loki. And I guess he would just oftentimes get drunk all the time. And that's my extent of Norse mythology. If anybody knows, feel free to enlighten me. I'm honestly quite interested. I mean, I know a bit about Egyptian mythology, and I definitely know a lot about Greco-Roman mythology. But Norse mythology is always something I've never really known that much about. Stop giving post awards when you could be using that money to donate to trans support funds. Well, I mean, if you're posting awards to good trans-related posts like this, I mean, I guess it's the same thing. In fact, I think you can donate gold, as they call it, which I think that's like a form of money. I'm not entirely sure. Okay, it looks like this one's just a text post. Today is Trans Day of Remembrance. It's a very important day. Leland Alcorn committed suicide almost 6 years ago due to conversation therapy forced on her by her parents. They dead-named and misgendered her in her remembrance messages. They have not been prosecuted. Rest in power. Well, that's quite a downer. I mean, I hope they're not misgendering her in this post here. Is their name Leela? And plus, that's just awful. I mean, if there's one thing I found out about being transgender is that the more you try to suppress it, the worse it gets. And to be driven to suicide, that's... any suicide, I think, is just a waste, regardless of if anybody is trans or cis. There's just so much you're throwing away when you're committing suicide. You're throwing away every single great party you could have had, throwing away every single nice person you could have ever had, throwing away every single great job opportunity. I will admit that life is not always the best, and sometimes you want to give it up. But believe me when I say there's more good in it than bad. It's just a lot harder to find. That's my philosophy on suicide. I haven't lost anybody to it, but it still devastates me just the same. An interesting title. British ups, French lefts, German downs, and then trans rights. I get it. It's clever. I really had to think about that one. I may be a woman now, but I am a sucker for the good dad jokes. I always love when they have these illustrations. I'm so envious of these artists. I mean, you've seen my animations. You can tell I just don't have the ability to draw this way. I do kind of wonder what software they use. I mean, maybe that might be part of it. Let's see. This is a femboy. This is a trans girl. Same as me. This is a trap. Very painful one at that. The only thing they have in common is the ability to break your effing shins. Yeah, I guess that's about right. I'm just trying to think real quickly. What is a femboy? I feel like I've heard this term before. I should know what it is. I'm going to guess that's somebody that was born as a girl but wants to identify with a more masculine personality. Once again, just like Norse mythology, feel free to enlighten me. Think of me like a sponge. I want to absorb as much information as possible. Okay, this one is another text post. Wondering why it says effing black metal. Anonymous asks, I'm a cis guy and I wear a pin with my pronouns on it. I've had people look at it, look me in the eye and call me ma'am and say she instead of like a pronoun pin doesn't automatically prove that someone is trans, but I'm not going to censor that out, but I mean, it's just my personal upbringing. I don't feel comfortable about putting the Lord's name in vain like that. Their transphobia is showing. I'm confused about this one. So they're a cis guy wearing a pin that they want to be called he's. So why are they being referred to as she or ma'am? Unless maybe they're just saying their transphobia is showing. All the same, I need to get one of those pins. That'd be very nice. Gonna help clear up a few things. Wonder how much they go for. The text one, I kind of figured there'd be a lot of them. Didn't really know which subreddit post this in. Transmisogyny, I hope I'm saying that right. It's the fact that I'd be arrested for showing female breasts in public, but then put into a man prison because I'm not a woman. Trans women are always considered women when it justifies more harm. We are never considered women when it would protect us from harm. I haven't had too much experience with this myself. I mean, I've only really been transitioning for like about 3 months now, but maybe this is something I have to look forward to, but all the same, I guess it is really important to know. And I'm not going to make this gender specific either. I have a feeling that trans men probably suffer from a very similar issue. Ooh, a comic. Love comics. I got called a bride a couple of times. Yeah, I noticed. It was a bit uncomfortable, but I was thinking, is there even a gender neutral word for that? I guess I'm the broom? Okay. I think I'm getting it now. So, the other person here, I'm trying to make sure I use the right word here, is probably trans femme, or feminizing in some way, maybe non-binary, so that's why they find it weird they're being called the bride. But I do like the term broom. I think that should fit. Accidental ally. Dear liberals, no matter how hard you try, trans men will never be women, and trans women will never be men. Facts over feelings. Okay, I don't really have a whole lot to say to that. I mean, why blame just liberals, though? I mean, I have a feeling there's conservatives, libertarians, communists that probably all have this same issue. I hate it when they always like to try to single out one particular group. I believe that nobody is in the right with this sort of thing. Yeah, this one's going to be a lot of reading. I'll start with the title. Many of you have probably noticed this issue recently, and though we have tried to curb it some, with reminders in comments and asking people to report these posts, an announcement was called for. Check the comments for future clarification, but bottom line, please stop reposting transphobia, y'all. Thank goodness. Woman after my own heart. Or man, or MB, take a pick. I don't know who wrote this post. Artra. Did you know that, see if I can try to do a better female voice here. Artra. Did you know that, if that transphobic things make you sad, it will probably make the rest of us sad too? Thank you. Please stop posting transphobic, swear word, here with the cis nonsense. Stop exposing your fellow Artra users to yet more transphobia. And there's a bit of a drawing here. I'm going to see if I can actually read this. This might take a little bit. Without someone posting straight up transphobic stuff, except with this pasted on the bottom, not because there's anything at all funny and or rememberable. Read the aforementioned cis nonsense just to say, hey, everybody looking at this made me feel bad. You should look at it too. Well, that's quite a long ways away, but I can see where they're going with it. But I'm certainly happy that there's other people out there that have had enough of this transphobic stuff. I mean, the biggest thing for me is that I've really just had enough of bad news. In fact, news in general. For the most part, I've just basically turned off the news for like the past month or so, and in all honesty, I feel like my life has improved substantially since then. Of course, my estrogen levels have went up as well, so maybe there's a correlation there. Seems like a lot of these are text posts. My hot girls out there. Aww. Why all the hot girls from the same country? Like, where even is trans flag? And I like the idea that this looks like it's written in Hebrew. I am trans quiz. Upvote this, so this is the first result on Google Images when a kid tries to figure it out. That's a good way to do it. But, I don't know, do upvotes correlate to what Google puts on first? The algorithm is weird sometimes. Kid, I gotta hand it to you. If you Google that, the answer is probably. Now, sort the sub to top. See if you associate with anything. Enjoy. You know, that was honestly the first advice I got when I first started to question myself. The main thing is, if you ever start questioning, then you most likely are transgender. But that doesn't mean you have to, like, start pounding the hormones and start finding a surgeon. I mean, it's all up to you, but... Oh, great. News. Finally caught a break. I'm so happy. Supreme Court rules workers can't be fired for being gay or transgender. How old is this? I mean, that's discrimination, isn't it? I feel like the same thing as if you fired a really attractive woman because she wouldn't put out for the boss. Or, why not reverse the situation? A really attractive man who wouldn't put out for the boss. Even a very attractive non-binary. I mean, I'm a transgender with transgender memes here. I gotta represent everybody that I can think of. Although when you start getting into eco-gender and like a gender that changes varying on the weather, that's where I kind of draw the line. Net left at London, Puff's thought on Cyberpunk 2077. Cyberpunk 2077? If I wanted to be a girl with a penis navigating a dystopian future, I would have gotten out of bed today. Well, obviously I can relate to that. But there's kind of a funny story behind that. So, I was actually quite interested in playing this new Cyberpunk 2077, but this was at a time where I was still kind of, I was going to say in the closet, but I think it's called being an egg when you're transgender. This was a time where I just wanted to find a way to live vicariously as my preferred gender, a woman. So I figured I would just go in there, customize screen, have that long flowing hair I wanted, breasts, nail polish, all that stuff. I just still find it interesting that they decided to include customed genitalia. I mean, it's a rated M game, right? I mean, how explicit can you get with the details there? I mean, I feel like if you go much more, you're basically just playing porn. I've seen this picture a few times on this subreddit, and quite frankly, I feel like that just kind of summarizes what I'm trying to do here. It might not be perfect, but at the end of the day, I'd say it looks close enough. Of course, I'm still very early on my transition. I mean, I want to do something with the face, the voice is too deep, and, well, I'm not actually this big. It's just the bra I'm wearing because tight shirts really hurt now. When I got to this picture right here, I was just kind of scrolling down to see if I could find, like, the one picture that really made me think, yes, I definitely am a transgender. However, I did find a few fun little gems here and there, and this is one of them. A polycule of transgender girls is called a Discord server. Probably wouldn't hurt if I could find one of those, actually. Want to join our lesbian polycule? I've never heard that word before, so I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. Yes. And with how my hair looks, I almost look a lot like that woman in there. Let's see. This is Sam. Sam is a AMAB. I've never actually said that one out loud. I'm not sure if it's AMAB or if it's AMAB, which basically stands for a male at birth. This means assigned male at birth. I just said that. By many doctors' definition, he is genetically male. He is also cisgender. That means he identifies as a boy. His body and gender align without conflict. He likes being a boy. Well, more power to you. I mean, if you're perfectly fine with the gender you're living as, good for you. I'm not jealous. I just have a little more work to do. That's all. Oh, yeah. This one I just really wanted to include. So, when I was just kind of questioning myself, there was this one comic I found online. It's called I Want to Be a Cute Anime Girl. And to my knowledge, it's still going. I still kind of tune in from time to time. And to be honest, not only do I love it, but it's kind of scary how accurate it is sometimes. I mean, one of the biggest things I'll think about is basically the person in the comic, I believe, Sharon is their birth name, which that kind of confuses me because I can't help thinking Sharon is also a girl's name, unless I'm getting it mixed up with their preferred name. But anyway, so one of the major things that confused them, as well as confused me, is the idea that both of us felt we couldn't be trans because we liked women. But then the friend brought up a good point. Lesbians are a thing. And my reaction was basically the same as her reaction. Best friend is just like, "You're gonna be alright?" And her reaction was the same as mine. Oh, yeah, I'm just having an identity crisis right now. All I'm gonna say is if I ever get the chance to meet the author of this, I want to thank you so much. You helped me discover who I am, and quite frankly, I'm jealous of your artistic ability. I mean, I wish I could draw like this. But maybe I should just stick to storytelling and see if I can find somebody else that can do animation for me. I don't know. Do you think I tell interesting stories? Feel free to leave some in the comments. Okay, this one I found because I just thought it was rather scary. So you got two pictures. You get 3 months in the quarantine and 9 months in the quarantine. I have a feeling I've probably told this story several times in other videos, but I'll just go for the Spark Notes version. So essentially, the quarantine actually accelerated my process of figuring out who I was. I mean, honestly, there wasn't too much else to do, so I just kind of thought about myself. My gender, was I happy with what I was? I wouldn't necessarily say the answer was no. I mean, even to this point, I mean, I feel I could have lived the rest of my life as a man, but in all honesty, I love being a woman so much more. I'm just like, forget it. I'm going all the way. And so I just found this rather scary. The only major difference is I didn't start hormones until after the quarantine ended. I mean, I think the quarantine is still technically going on, but basically I say the quarantine started in March, and I was able to get back to work about 3 months after that. It was either May or June. And it was a lot of fun that I was still kind of having these thoughts. And I was alone myself waiting for everybody else to show up. That is when I finally came to the conclusion that I am indeed transgender. Yeah, right, this is the last one I have for now. So like I said, I'm a big fan of the dad jokes, and I'm probably going to be making them long after I look a lot more like Julia. It's kind of the thing. I mean, is there such a thing as mom jokes? I don't know. I feel like the term has always been dad jokes, and you know what? I'll stick with it. That's usually a popular thing that dads say. Alright. Is it dad, Doc? It seems you're in need of a little transplant. Oh my gosh, what? I love that. It's a transplant. I gotta see if maybe I could make one or two just like that. Well, I hope you enjoyed this little video. Maybe even got a little bit of a laugh. And I hope some of the transphobic posts weren't too devastating. I mean, like I said before, there's just so much turmoil in the world. Why would you choose to see more of it? I mean, I want to be happy, and in all honesty, I am. So why would I want to choose something that I know is going to make me upset? Well, if you're a first-time viewer, this is the usual salutation I end every video with. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. I am an open book, and like I said, I am very comfortable talking about this. There is just one thing that I refuse to touch, and that is politics. I've tried that before, and I'm pretty sure at least 10 people want me dead. Till next time, be yourself, no matter who that is.